I don't know if you guys can tell at all, but I am definitely in my headband era. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Amber Rose, also known as the Religious Hippie. You could basically follow me on any social media platform, or you can go straight to my website at thereligioushippie.com. On there you'll find economy rosaries, haters will be prayed for prayer journals, St. Jude prayer mugs, and also book club mugs. And if you cannot donate, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting to help us with the algorithm. Thank you guys. So today is a new segment. This is a new series that I've started because I've had a bunch of people email me and DM me asking for advice and wanting me to do videos on it. So this segment is called Help. Very easy to remember, short and straight to the point, and that's what we're discussing. As a reminder, this YouTube show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. We make no guarantees about the accuracy, completeness, or suitability of the information. The discussions here are not a substitute for professional care. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Before making any decisions based on this information, it is recommended you consult with a trusted resource in the relevant field. We are not liable for any errors or omissions in the information provided, nor for any loss or damage incurred from the use of this information. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations and helpful resources on my website. So basically how this works is people email me, they put help in the subject of the email, and they basically tell me what they need advice on. I've had quite a few people email in already, and you can do this completely anonymous if you would like. Just make sure you specify in the email that you would like to remain anonymous, and I will be sure that it stays that way. But yeah, that's basically how this new segment is going to work. I've already had so many people email in asking for advice. I'm very happy to start this new series, and hopefully it will be helpful for anyone struggling with these issues as well. So with all of that being said, let's get started. So to kick off our very first episode, we have this email that came in. Dear Amber Rose, my name is Julia, and I am so glad you started this help segment on your channel. I'm sure it will help many. Anyways, I have an issue which I am writing to you about today. I recently became Catholic. Congratulations, welcome home. Oh my gosh, I love hearing that. Anyways. And most of my friends are non-practicing Christians or Protestant. I have been close to these people for a long time, but ever since I converted, they have been treating me differently and I feel discouraged. They are the only friends I have since I am so new to Catholicism and I live in remote Montana. What should I do if I start losing friends and if they are being disrespectful towards me and my faith? First of all, thank you so much, Julia, for writing in and being our first person on this segment. But please know that you are not alone in this. So many people have gone through this, and I myself have gone through this too when I first reverted back into my faith. I'm sure many of you watching right now have also gone through something similar to this, if not exactly like this. I mean, we've all been there. You're hanging out with a friend or a friend group that you've known for a very long time. Maybe you've grown in your faith or converted or reverted like I did, and they've stayed stagnant, or they don't take their faith seriously, or they've fallen away completely. Every time you hang out with them, you don't feel like you can share your faith or be yourself, and you might even feel attacked by their comments and jokes. Maybe you're friends with them because you've been friends forever and it would feel like a waste to just throw away so many years of friendship. Or maybe you're at your wit's end with this whole situation and you're trying to figure out what the proper thing to do is and maybe even leave the friendship. And I want to state that this advice is to be taken with a grain of salt. You guys are strangers. I don't know your specific situation. It could be completely different. The circumstances might be different. So please just take this with a grain of salt. I'm not telling you to specifically do anything. This is just my advice to you. Take it at face value, take it for what you will, but I do hope that it helps. Now, this is a very tricky and emotional time. I mean, you guys are all growing up, or maybe you're maturing at different rates in different ways, and it might just be starting to become too obvious. When I was reverting back into my faith, all of my friends were Protestant, including my boyfriend at the time. I didn't have any friends who were good Catholic examples, so I felt very alone and isolated. It was not a good time. And once my Protestant friends heard I was reverting back to Catholicism, that's when things got a little bit crazy. They started asking me a bunch of apologetic questions, and these were things that I was not ready to answer yet. I was still a baby Catholic, but in that moment, I remember feeling like they were just trying to prove a point. They weren't actually listening to me or why I was reverting or what I had to say about it. They literally just wanted to convince me not to convert. They weren't worried about anything else. They were just trying to win an argument. So I started feeling bombarded and attacked, and rightly so. I mean, it wasn't coming from a place of love, and you can tell the difference when something's coming from a place of love and when somebody's literally just trying to prove a point. This is when I started learning a lot more about my faith in order to combat their misconceptions and their arguments, because I knew that I would have to defend the faith because nobody else was going to stand up for me. But slowly, hanging out with them became a chore. I dreaded it because I knew I was going to be bullied. I was going to constantly have to debate them on Catholicism, and it was exhausting, and no friendship should have to feel like that. And if I did tell them like, hey, why don't we just have fun? Like, I don't really want to talk about this stuff, because genuinely, I did just want to have fun like we used to. They would just tell me that I was in denial and I just didn't have any good arguments to back up my Catholicism and I shouldn't revert, and it just kind of created more of a rift. And again, genuinely, I wanted to go back to the way that things were before they started treating me differently, but unfortunately that ship sailed a long time ago, and I knew that it wasn't going to be the same. I did my best to keep those friendships for the short time that they lasted after I reverted, but I realized really quickly that friendships cannot be one-sided. I needed reciprocation. I needed people to listen and not just bombard me or bully me about my faith. I wanted respect, and honestly, that is understandable. Everyone deserves an amount of respect. Now, every friendship breakup is different. I had some friends who got into arguments with me to the point of them blocking me because they just couldn't take it anymore. I had other friends who we just kind of drifted apart naturally. We never really had an argument or a disagreement. We just kind of stopped clicking. We matured at different times. They were interested in things I wasn't interested in, and we just didn't have anything in common anymore. But I had one friend specifically who stuck by my side even when I was reverting. Only one out of the dozens I had. So what do you do if all of a sudden all your friends seem to turn against you and you have nobody left? Yeah, I wish it was straightforward. Well, in the moment when I lost a lot of my friends, I cried. A lot. I felt very alone, even more alone than I did before, because not only was I now being bullied about my faith, the one thing that I actually felt like gave me life and I cared about and was becoming my personality slowly. I mean, if Catholicism isn't your personality and you're Catholic, what are you doing? But I had a lot of resentment and frustration from how quickly they went from friends to bullies like overnight. It was such a quick transition that I wasn't prepared for it. And honestly, it gave me a little bit of whiplash because sometimes they treat me normally and then they'd remember and then they treat me badly again. And it was just such a mess. But I do want to remind you guys that you are human and it is okay to grieve these relationships and friendships. Whether it's a best friend or an acquaintance, it is okay to feel those negative emotions of sadness, maybe anger, or a little betrayal. But what's important is you don't stay there. We can't stay in that anger, betrayal, or anything like that. We can't hold grudges. We can't toil in these emotions because these emotions might spark wrath, which could cause revenge, and just it's a big mess, okay? Don't spark wrath, which I did a video about not too long ago, so go watch that. And honestly, who knows? Your example of how you handle that situation might lead to someone converting one day. I mean, planting the seed is what's important. So feel the emotions, process what you need to process, but don't stay there. Pray for them, focus on yourself, and find good Catholic friends. I also want to say, if you continue hanging out with these people anyways, don't pretend like you're not Catholic. I've seen this time and time again, where people will start hanging out with their old friend group, the one that they used to hang out before they reverted or converted, and they fall back into their old ways. They pretend they're not Catholic because they don't want to cause friction. They don't want to cause any issues with them. This is one of the worst things we can do. That's the sin of omission. The sin of omission is when we don't do what we ought to do in the face of injustice or evil. We should be able to be ourselves around our friends and not worry about sharing our faith with them. Even if they aren't of the same religion, they should still be respectful of you and your religion. If they're constantly bullying you, getting in your face, trying to win an argument, and just can't have a decent conversation, might be time to cut those relationships off. It can be difficult, but clearly those people aren't open to hearing the truth, and those friendships aren't going to be fruitful. And I want to remind you guys, it is not your responsibility to save anybody. You are not responsible for anyone's salvation but your own. But we can plant the seed, and hopefully someday down the line they'll remember that and they will revert or convert. But in those toxic relationships and friendships, it's best to end them. And honestly, I want you guys, if you are ending those relationships, tell them why you're ending the relationship. Be nice about it, but also have a backbone. I am always so annoyed at the lack of communication and honesty these days. We need to hold each other accountable. Tell them if they're being disrespectful and hurtful. Tell them that the way that they speak to you is not acceptable, inappropriate, and you will not be in a one-sided friendship. Again, be kind but stern, because we need to have a backbone and we need to be okay with honesty. I also want to remind you that you are not responsible for the way that these people respond, okay? You can only control your own response and the way that you react to this situation. And sometimes walking away is what is best. Many times these people will try and defend themselves because they feel convicted, and it kind of sparks their pride a little bit. And so they try to defend themselves and be like, oh, well, if you didn't convert, then you wouldn't be dealing with me right now, blah, 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 blah. It's not the point. The point is they're being a horrible friend and they need to know that. So the moral of the story here is that we need good, respectful friendships, specifically God-centered friendships. Now, you can have friends that aren't of the same faith, and I have quite a few friends that aren't Catholic, and I love them dearly. They're such amazing people, and I love their insights in different things, and you have to be really careful not to compromise your morals to be friends with them. Just like how the Bible says, iron sharpens irons, so saints make saints. We want to have good, respectful friendships, people who we can be ourselves with and share our faith with them. We need people who are willing to correct us when we need it and help each other get to heaven, because at the end of the day, this world is our ship, not our home. With all of that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to email me, you can at thereligioushippie.com, put help in the subject, and I will make sure you guys get on the channel. Don't forget to check out my official website at thereligioushippie.com, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys!